The new Iranian supreme leader has reportedly issued his first official public statement. What does it mean for Iran and the future of the war with the US and Israel? To talk about it, we're joined by Professor Alberto Coll from DePaul University College of Law. Good evening.
Good evening.
So Iran's new supreme leader has allegedly, we don't know whether it was him or not, in fact, but he has issued a statement which reads, a lever of blocking the Strait of Hormuz should still be used by Iran. Now, what is Mojtaba Khamenei, if it is him, trying to achieve here?
He's trying to convey an image of power, of strength. He's trying to show that the regime will not capitulate, that the regime is supposedly as strong as ever, will not yield to any demands, and that in fact it will be capable of wreaking enormous destruction on the Gulf countries and any ships from those countries that try to traverse the waters of the Persian Gulf. So this is to be expected. You know, the Iranian regime is in a corner. They have suffered massive military losses over the past couple of weeks, and the only thing left to them is to project this strength to try to make us believe that they are as strong as ever and that they will not yield in any way.
So what can the US do? Can the US effectively break the blockade of the Strait of Hormuz after it deals with other targets? That's what Donald Trump was suggesting only yesterday when he said that the war was practically over.
Yeah, well, the war is not over if you want to look at the goals of the war, which included, of course, destroying Iran's nuclear capabilities. There are still 400 kilograms of enriched uranium sitting in 2 or 3 locations beneath rubble in Iran. And we need to make sure that that uranium does not get into Iranian hands. So we're going to have to figure out how to destroy that uranium, how to get it out or destroy it. And in the meantime, obviously, yes, first we have to degrade Iran's military capabilities considerably before we could even start escorting tankers through the Gulf and open the Straits of Hormuz. That's going to take time. You know, military operations take time. There is no such thing as a real war against a country the size of Iran that you can wage successfully in 2 weeks. That's going to take time. And of course, the other thing that would take time is to figure out a way to get that enriched uranium out of the regime's hands. And that could be a more complex operation involving small but very lethal ground forces that would have to land in those 2 or 3 sites and get to the uranium and then either destroy it or take it out.
Is this something that Donald Trump has already rejected? I mean, this very idea, right, of sending American troops to Iran?
We don't know. It doesn't have to be American troops, by the way. The Israelis have the capabilities, they have the teams, they have the manpower and the trained manpower to do this. The U.S., of course, would provide the air power above, the refueling tankers, the firepower necessary to protect that force. But the actual boots on the ground could be Israelis, and they'd be there for a number of days, perhaps weeks, to get the uranium out and to destroy it. With President Trump, you never know what's on his mind. But the problem is that if he calls off an end to the war now, Iran will be left with that enriched uranium that they'll be able to get to and use. And this time they will do their very best and their quickest best to turn it into several nuclear weapons. I don't think we want that, and I don't think Donald Trump wants that. Secondly, there's the issue that you don't want the war to end in a situation where Iran basically has shown that they can shut the Straits of Hormuz and keep it shut. So at some point, we have to be able to degrade their capabilities enough to reopen the straits and show that in the future, Iran cannot do this again if it wants to.
Maybe that's against the American interest, because today Donald Trump said It is good for the US to see the oil prices go up because, as it is the leading producer in the world, it would make a lot of money. So is this the current White House narrative?
No. I mean, Trump throws out all kinds of ideas to see how they fly. By now we should know that this is the kind of thing he does. And you have to take your time in trying to figure out exactly what he's saying. He'll say one thing today, he'll say another. Some of it has to do with his long background as a businessman, trying to kind of test his adversaries, his allies, his friends. And so, but I don't think he really means that long term, because part of the problem is that all of these Persian Gulf states, also their economies, depend for their prosperity and their security on the Straits of Hormuz open. Now, the Straits of Hormuz may not be open for a while. It may be weeks. It could be a couple of months. We don't know. Again, military operations take time. And so, but I also don't think that if the Straits of Hormuz are closed for a month or two, that this will mean the end of the world economy or some great catastrophe. It will hurt economic growth. It will be painful. Especially for some countries more than for others. But it's something that we could tolerate. And again, we have to ask the hard questions. Everybody has to remember what this is about. This is about preventing Iran from getting a nuclear weapon, and equally important, preventing Iran from developing 100,000 ballistic missiles that they could use then to prevent any future attacks against their nuclear sites. And that is as much of an interest to Europe as it is to the United States.
But the war is taking place not only in Iran. Israel is continuing its ground operation in Lebanon against Hezbollah, with bombs dropping in the very center of Beirut. Now, do you think it can lead to the occupation of Lebanon?
I don't think so. I think the Israelis may move into southern Lebanon and occupy a small piece of territory. I think that the occupation of all of Lebanon would be something that Israel really does not want to do. And I think if you talk to all the senior military commanders, the Israeli military commanders, and even the senior politicians, so that's not something that they want to get into, especially when they're fighting a major war against Iran. But they certainly are trying to destroy the threat from Hezbollah. People forget that Hezbollah started this war, by starting firing missiles into Israeli territory. The Israelis would have left Lebanon alone, but at some point the Israelis had to respond. And now Israel is trying to do a repeat of what it did a couple of years ago, trying to degrade, trying to destroy Hezbollah. And again, it's not easy because Hezbollah embeds itself in the civilian population like Hamas does in Gaza. So they place themselves in situations and locations where Israeli responses wind up very tragically also killing civilians. That's the dilemma.
Professor Alberto Coll from DePaul University College of Law was our guest this evening. Thank you very much, Professor.
Thank you. It's always a pleasure.
And thank you for watching, and stay with us for more interviews and news here on DPP World.